right, I think that's live. Can you see if it's coming up on your side?
I can't. It's not quite.
Okay. Well, it should just start playing. I think that we're live. I think we're live. I don't know. If somebody sees me, say yes or something.
Yep, there it is.
Okay, here we go. All right, let's get started. So for 5 years, I've been working to get external graphics cards working on the Raspberry Pi. Thanks to massive efforts from users like CoreForge, IFDU, RSC Games, Yang Haku, 6x9, and many others, we have a 23-line patch that gets pretty much every AMD GPU running on the Pi, and it should get us closer to full Intel support. So the goal today is to see how many of these graphics cards we can get working, and for anyone watching after the fact, I'll add in chapter markers so you can skip to just the parts you want to see. But before we get started, I'm going to hand things over to Past Me. This is Past Jeff from a few hours ago, and I just got back from running a 5K with my 2 oldest children. And I'm just thinking back to a few years ago when I still had tons of Crohn's issues and I had issues with my digestive system, all that kind of stuff. The help of a particular organization was really what helped me get through it and decide to get the surgery that turned my life around. I was basically like at the end of the line for Crohn's treatments, and my health was in decline, my weight was way low, I didn't have energy to even be with my kids and do things with them. So the UOAA, which is what this video's fundraiser is for, they have local chapters around the US that helps people who are considering having an ostomy for IBD, or people who have had emergency surgery and had to get an ostomy. And we need an organization like this because there's at least something like 1 million people in the US and millions around the world who have ostomies. And it's kind of an invisible illness in some ways. And it's also something that it's not very glamorous to talk about. You know, it's not something that people like to talk about that much. And a lot of people might be embarrassed about it too. So the UOA helps people who have this, and it helps them to be able to live with dignity, helps them to be able to understand what it is, how to deal with it, and how to live life to the fullest. And I have a permanent ostomy. Some people have temporary ostomies. In fact, like Pope John Paul II had one. Some of our past presidents had one. There's a lot of people, a lot of celebrities have had them. Some people don't know how to deal with it, and it's mostly because they never had a group like the UOA and the local chapters to help them through the process and deal with it. Anyway, I am forever indebted to them. So for this stream today, trying to get all these things working, I'd like to dedicate it to them. And if you have any ability to support them, that would be awesome, and you could help other people like me. And it'd be surprising, you might know somebody who has an ostomy, but you might not even be aware of it, because it is, as the cert says, an invisible disability. Anyway, back to the video, and let's see if we can get all these graphics cards working. All right, and yes, I am live, and I do a terrible job of looking at chat, so if you post something and I don't see it, it's not something about you, it's something about me. But let me show you my setup today. Because right now, you might notice that I have a AMD Radeon 7900 XT with 20 gigs of VRAM on it, connected to a Raspberry Pi 500 plus. Whoops, well that's the Pi. Let me go to my iPhone here, which is not showing up for some reason. There it is, okay. So I have my iPhone here showing you, this is the Pi 500 plus. Inside of here, I'm not going to lift it off while it's running because that's a little risky, but there's an Oculink to M.2 adapter. So because of that, I have the boot drive out here, just sitting in my little USB adapter, booting off of that. Then I have an eGPU dock that's plugged in via Oculink to the Pi, and it gets power from a separate power supply. This is a little Lee & 750 watt SFX power supply. So that's all set up, and then I have HDMI plugged in here that loops over into the computer so that you can see this, which, if I go back to the iPhone, is what I'm seeing on this display. So this is running btop, and this is not plugged into the Pi, it's plugged into the graphics card. And I figured the first thing that I should do is show where we are with the AMD cards, show how I got this setup going. And again, a lot of this is not my work. This is, I try to coordinate some things as much as I can, but it's the community that's been around this thing, the people I mentioned at the beginning of this video. They're the ones who have done the great work, and I have just been able to kind of put things together and connect people together. So let me first show you, I'll go back over to the Pi, and I'll show you how this is set up. So if I go into my Linux directory, what used to happen is I used to have to do a lot of work and apply like a large patch set, and it was kind of disjointed and it would take a long time and it would kind of work. But now, let me go into here and say git diff. So the only changes that are made to Linux right now are there's a little thing telling the Intel driver to turn off VGA mode if there's a legacy thing. And then there's another thing for that in another part of the Intel driver. We'll talk about Intel soon, but for pretty much all the GPUs, there's only a couple things in here that are fixing some memory cache coherency issues, which, like I said, these are other people that found these things out. I just kind of try to provide breadcrumbs to help other people, and then I kind of put things together. And then I have a live stream like this where I get to show off this cool stuff. But that's it. That's the only changes, which means we can probably, let me get out of here. Okay. Which means we can probably get these patches, or at least parts of them, into mainline Linux at some point, because some of the things are also for other ARM platforms, not just for Raspberry Pi. A lot of people say, like, who cares about these things on Raspberry Pi? Well, first of all, there are use cases for GPUs on Raspberry Pis. Second of all, there's a large ARM ecosystem, and if we can fix the drivers and get them to run on ARM PCs, that's a good thing. It's a win. But the window is not readable. Here, I'll make it a little bit bigger, so hopefully you can read it a little bit better. It's always fun on live streams trying to make it so that somebody like on a mobile phone can see it, and you're not nuking somebody who's on a desktop with a giant screen. So I'll make this bigger. The other part of this, if you want to replicate what I have, this is all documented on GitHub. I have links in the description. But if I go make menu config, this is where you set up Linux, like tell it what to put into the Linux build that you're building. The only things I changed in here are I set it to the 4K page size. So it's normally 16K for Raspberry Pis. I set it to 4K for compatibility with old Windows applications. That's the only reason I did that. And then down in device, let's see, exit, down in device drivers, that's where you tell it, like, I have AMD GPUs, Intel GPUs, Nvidia, that kind of thing. So if I go down here to graphics support, and here, I enabled AMD GPU, and then I did SI and CIK. Those are like older AMD GPUs. And then I did Intel Z graphics, which, again, we'll talk about this in a little bit. But I wanted to show how things are working on AMD, because you might notice there's no problems, no latency issues. And I figured that the first thing that we always need to test on these things is, will it run Doom? And not just Doom, but maybe Doom 3, which is a little more advanced than the regular Doom. And I don't know if you'll be able to hear this or not. Let's see. I need to hit escape. So load. Then let's get in. I'll pop in. I played a little bit ahead so that I wouldn't have to be in like the little beginner tutorial. But this is Doom 3 from, what was it? Does anybody remember? Was it 2008 or 2016? I don't remember, but here's Doom. Running very smoothly. I forget what how to get FPS in here. It's been a long time since I played these old games, but apparently he's going to get possessed. Oh. So there's Doom for you. And of course, people are going to say, well, of course it can run Doom. My toothbrush runs Doom nowadays. So the bigger question is, can it run Crysis? And that is I'm going to rely on Steam here, which, yes, Steam runs on the Raspberry Pi just fine. If you download the latest OS, I might talk about this more later with Trixie. If you download the latest OS, then you might have some issues. But you'll also notice that Steam might run, but it's not the fastest thing in the world. It's not the most pleasant experience yet on a Raspberry Pi. This is overclocked at 2.8 gigahertz, and it's still a little bit slow. And I think if you look at the size of this graphics card versus the size of the Raspberry Pi 500 Plus, you'll realize why when your computer is like a tenth the size of the graphics card. Graphics are overpowered, CPU is underpowered. Let me pop in here. I should have just had this running so I don't have to wait for it. But I also have a side view too, in case I was having trouble with the PC getting all the video feeds into it, it started getting choppy, and it's not choppy right now, so that's good. But let's see. Someone says, soon x86 will be just as efficient as ARM. That's a fun debate to be had, and I don't think that that is necessarily a completely true statement. But let's see here. I'm going to go into Crysis, of course, and we'll run it as well. And anybody who's watched this channel for a long time knows I have it down here, the giant Ampere Thelio Astra workstation. It runs Crysis very well, but of course that's a server with 128 cores. The ARM CPU, each core is faster than the Pi, so of course it should work there. But this is a Raspberry Pi we're talking about. And let's see. Yeah, I don't care about the driver version. CSGO 2. I never played that game, so I would be terrible at it, but it might be fun. Let's see. I'm going to turn it down just a little bit. Yes, Crysis, I believe this is single-threaded, and that's part of the reason why it's so slow. The bottleneck here is not the 7900 XT at all. The bottleneck is 100% the Pi. Let's see. See if we can get load in here. It's not terrible, though. I mean, I turned on an Xbox a couple weeks ago, and I realized it takes like a minute or so from the time you turn it on to the time you're playing a game. So that's kind of, hey, UOAA is here. Yes, so while this is loading, good reminder, this stream's purpose is to raise money for the UOAA, who helped me and helps hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of other ostomates through the years who deal with an invisible illness and deal with, sometimes it's a surprise surgery, sometimes it's something they had to plan. But in any case, I don't think there's anybody I've ever met who's like, I really wanted an ostomy the day I was born. But there might be one of those out there. But anyway, let's pop in here. And there's a donate link over there. So you can see there is a little bit of choppiness. And I think this is with, it's not in can it run Crysis mode. But everything's working, and it's more stable than the first few times I was playing this. Part of that work is from the community around Box 64 and Box 86. So, oh, I just realized I didn't have that on. Thanks to my dad and my nephew who are here for reminding me. So yes. But anyway, no issues with Crysis here. Crouch. Except for the fact that it isn't running in super fast FPS. But I do have, let's see what the settings are that I have set on here. Options, graphics. So I have anti-aliasing, and it's in high. So DLSS is off. There are a few settings that kind of flake out, I think partly due to the driver being not like, I don't think AMD engineers are sitting around validating everything on Raspberry Pis yet. Maybe they will at some point. But let's see, yes. So anyway, Crysis runs, Doom Eternal also runs. So let's quit, yes. And we'll get over to there. And again, this part of the stream, I'm just trying to kind of show that these games, everything is stable enough to run. There's a couple of games that don't, and usually it's a weird compatibility issue with between like Box 64, Box 86, Steam, Proton. We're dealing with a few translation layers, and when you have that many translation layers, sometimes it's a little bit hard to debug things. And sometimes something is working one day and it'll break a few weeks later when there's a patch for a game. But yeah. FPC to Oculink. I haven't seen anyone make one yet. I would love to see that on a hat. That would be really cool. But yeah, it'd be nice to have. It'd be nice to have a few more hats out there to get to these cards a little easier. I've always wanted to have like a Raspberry Pi just strapped to the back of a GPU, because then you could just pick up the GPU and go, and as long as you plug it into power, you're good. There is a new launcher. I don't want the launcher. Okay. You can still see, I presume, the capture card on the PC is doing pretty good. I still presume you can hear everything. It's not loud, but it's hearable. Ah, someone said Minecraft. That's a magic word. Yes, we'll get there. Come on. Sometimes you spend more time in loading screens. I'm guessing that this friend request is from somebody who's watching the stream. So, come on. We can do it. I do have a merch store, redshirtjeff.com, but as a reminder, this stream is all about trying to give some money to the UOAA who helps people who have ostomies. So there's a link somewhere. If you're on desktop, oh gosh. If you're on desktop, it's up there. No, it might be down here. Tablet is like down there, and I don't know where it is on phone. You just keep scrolling down. And yes, this is live. Hi, what are you looking at? I'm looking at you. Okay, so here's Doom. And why is it in this aspect ratio? That's kind of weird. Let's go to settings, video. Whoop. That's weird. I'm only seeing one. That wasn't how it was earlier. So anyway, but I do have on video, I do have ray tracing turned on. You can see it over here. I don't remember where. Somewhere in here there's that setting. I don't like the settings menu. Oh, there it is. Ray tracing is on. So this is with ray tracing, and I don't know why I can't do full res, but this is as good as we can do right now, I guess. But let's go into campaign, and I think we're in here. Continue. Yep. Yeah, I would like to fix the, oh, there's an aspect ratio setting. Okay, I didn't see that. Is that, well, I hit escape. Now I don't know what's going to happen. Can PCIe slot power the Pi from GPU? No, unfortunately, it can't do that. But I have been, like I said, I'd like to find a way to just strap a Pi on the back of a GPU, and basically there's so much power in one of these power supplies, and there's 5 volts, there's rails for 5, 3.3, 12, negative 12, and yeah, so there's plenty of power rails to power a Pi. You just need to figure out the right adapter. So it'd be cool to have like a PCIe to Raspberry Pi USB-C adapter or something like that. Oh, press space to continue. Okay. So again, this is not going to be the same amount of power. Let me turn this down a little bit. So it's not going to be the same amount of power as, say, this is probably a pretty violent video game. I don't have like no blood mode turned on or something. But, whoop. Can you tell I've never played this game? But anyway, there's not as much power as like on the Ampere workstation. Ooh, that looks fun. Oh, there's like a tutorial here. Okay, well, anyway, the point is that we're getting 30 to 50 FPS on here. Reload. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, we're getting 30 to 40 FPS with ray tracing turned on. Of course, it's on a 7900 XT. And I would have a 7900 XTX. However, the one that I bought had that weird issue with cooling. So I returned it. And I told AMD basically, I mean, they didn't give it to me, but I did email AMD and Power Color, I forget who made that one, and said like, hey, this thing stinks. And I never got a response to that, except for you can return it. So thanks. Someone mentioned Portal 2. Yeah, let's try it out. This wasn't working the first time I tried it. I don't know if it's going to work or not. It worked fine on the Ampere workstation, so I don't think it's an ARM compatibility thing. And yeah, see, that's what happened. It like loads to full screen, then it goes away. So there might be a setting for that, a tweak somewhere. Ultimate Epic Battle Simulator 2. Somebody mentioned, let me close out. Well, you know, I'm not going to close Steam because it takes so long to open. I'll just show this. It did work yesterday when I opened it up. This is another one where the CPU is a massive bottleneck. It's going to crush the Pi, basically. Yes, I also hope that Arc lives on it. I mean, here's the thing. AMD has had open source drivers for years and years, which made this whole thing kind of possible. Whereas NVIDIA kind of just open sourced them recently, and they didn't open source everything, and they're not, I have to give them some credit. They're doing a good job, but they're not on AMD's level in terms of being involved in the community and all that kind of stuff. So it's nice to have more competition is what I'm trying to say. And if Intel goes away, that would be sad. So let's play Ultimate Epic Battle Simulator. If you ever wanted to have the orcs of Isengard versus the ducks of whatever, this is the game for you. Chuck Norris versus automatic Shermans. 1 million of them. Or 100,000? No, a million. Cards being troubleshooted in the stream. So this one is the 7900 XT. There's a reason I started off with this one. You might notice on the screen here, I also have a, this is a 9070 XT. You gotta love how they changed their numbering scheme. 9070 XT, I think this is with 16 gigs of RAM or 12 gigs, I don't remember. This is AMD's newest lineup. This is their like previous generation, but this one has more AI processors, more of whatever their stream processors, whatever that is. It has a little bit more grunt than this one. I mean, it's a bigger card anyway. And it has 20 gigs of VRAM. So this is a little more powerful and it uses more power. So let me go back over here. Skip. And let's start. And I did this. This took a while to load up. So I'm going to do, let's just do 5,000 versus, we'll do 5,000 versus 10,000 to start. I think that the Roman soldiers are going to win this one. But while it's doing that too, let me get into Home Assistant. So you can see, well, you can't see from there. Let me switch to the side cam. So you can see that this is using between, it looks like idle is around, idle's around 20 to 30 watts with this setup. And maxed out, it's like 100 to 180 watts, something like that. So, and I know somebody's going to ask in chat, this I have set up through a Third Reality Zigbee smart outlet under the desk that is configured through Home Assistant, and I have an Apex Charts card, and I think I posted on my blog or somewhere about this setup, but that's how I monitor my power usage over time. So nice. And if I wanted to, I could hit this button and turn everything, oh, don't do that though. I could turn this off and everything would just shut down and that would be sad. And this is interesting. I've never seen this before. Maybe it doesn't want to see us competing the ducks against the soldiers. But we'll see if that's still going. I do have over on here, I do have the ability. This is something I didn't even realize. Nope, I don't want Task Manager. That's weird. Windows 11 bugs. I didn't even realize you can SSH from here. So SSH pi at, what is it, pi 500, what do I call it, plus.local, is that what it is? Yeah, here we go. So you can SSH from Windows in PowerShell, which is nice. I think that was a feature a couple years ago. I just never tried it out, but it all works well, and all the keyboard shortcuts and everything, so that's nice. So I can say btop, and from over here, see what's going on the Raspberry Pi over there. And it looks like, I hope you can see me. Yeah, you can. Whoop, ah, good goodness. That's window management. It looks like it's not doing anything. So you can see the UEBS II is doing nothing. So I think that we're locked up on that. And let's see if we can close it. Let's just hit stop here. Okay, well, we might not want to do that today. Maybe the ducks took over and don't want us to play that. But let me close out of this, close out of Steam. And we will do a little Minecraft. And you can't see it right now, so let me go back over here. And I'll hide this and switch back here so I can see what's going on. First time messing with the kernel compilation. I have a shirt for that, you know. This won't be your last time, I'm sure. Once you do it once successfully, it's kind of addictive in a weird way. Yeah, btop is awesome. That is btop, in case you were wondering. Btop, WoW 14b, that is btop. Somebody can post btop in there, but it should be an install away on anything. So I'm going to do, I'm using Prism Launcher. Prism Launcher to load Minecraft. GPU accelerated Minecraft, of course. And hopefully it loads in soon here. And as with all these things, the Raspberry Pi's CPU is definitely a bottleneck. I don't think, if you were being practical about this, you probably wouldn't pair up a 7900 with the Raspberry Pi. But let's go in here, single player. Let's go into the game that I had set up on here. Minecraft uses some CPU, but if you render things at great distances, there is a GPU component to things too. But you can see it's still loading in chunks here. This is the CPU holding back the GPU. We're loading stuff in, and the PCIe lane, the single lane at PCIe Gen 3, and the ability to get the RAM back and forth over the bus. But once it loads in, we're playing pretty good frame rate here. Where's what is the frame rate? F3? Yeah, there we go. So we're getting, where are the frames? I don't even see. 45, 55 FPS. This is with all the settings on like pretty high. Oh gosh, let me turn off those really quick. Video settings, graphics fancy. You know, here's the settings for you if you are a Minecraft nerd and know all these things. But yeah, back to game. But yeah, it's working well. If I turn down the settings, I can get a smooth 60 FPS forever. But I'm not going to do that right now. But everything works well, and there's what used to happen is there used to be some rendering bugs. So some things wouldn't render right, or some textures wouldn't load, or we'd have memory issues. That was the thing that was plaguing us before this really nice new patch that we have. Thanks to Yang Haku so much for that. Here's some lava, and I think it would be a great way to finish this out by just jumping into it. Okay. So we'll get out of there. So there's Minecraft, and I tried getting RTX Minecraft to work, and I was having some trouble with that. It's always thrown me for a loop, and I think that one, it seems like some of these RTX optimized games are really built for Nvidia. So I think that some of those won't work that great on a Pi. But let's clear out of here. And what else do we got? Okay, so another thing before we get to the Intel cards, a lot of people, one of the practical use cases, and the practicality can be debated in the chat, craft a pumpkin pie. No, sorry, I'm already out of it right now. But one thing is AI workloads or LLMs where you can have like a chat. For me, I hate the fact that like Google already tracks everything that we do. And pretty much all companies that have free services, the free services are basically tracking your data, aggregating your data, selling your data. And guess what all these AI companies do? They track your data, they aggregate it, they put it together, and they bundle it up and they sell it, and they're basically selling you as a product to advertisers, that kind of thing. Anyway, a nice thing about having GPUs like AMD's that can be run with llama.cpp using open source tools is you can have your large language models running locally with hardware you control, and nothing goes over the network. So that's the demo that I am planning on hopefully making work here. So I have it running in Docker. So Docker start, what is it, open WebUI. That's Docker. And then what is the command? I pasted the command here because I would forget it on the stream for sure. And here, I'm going to start, no, I already started WebUI. So I'm going to run Llama server. I already installed Llama, and I have a guide on my website for this. So, oh, I need to go into Llama. Okay, so that's going to load into the GPU. You might see the GPU fan spin up at some point when it starts doing a lot of work there. In fact, the mouse just froze for half a second. So it's loading that in. This is a small model, 3B, but just to show it working. And the guide for this, if you go Jeff Geerling LLM accelerated GPU, this is the blog post for that. I don't know if I linked that in the description, but you can find it. Just go here or search for LLMs eGPU Raspberry Pi Geerling. That's what I usually do. So here we have this WebUI running, and I can say, let's say, what is an ostomy? And this is all running locally. You can see the fan spun up because it's using a lot more power here. And we can also check the power usage here. So let's go over here. So power usage, less than 140 watts for that, for the small model here. But I also loaded up a much larger model. And yes, the 3B, it's Llama 3B. It's easy peasy, nobody cares. Black screen, oh no. My camera turned off. Oh no, it overheated. The bane of Sony cameras. Yeah. Okay. There we go. Let's see, side camera. So I was showing, but in the comments someone mentioned, yeah, 3B, it's tiny, a small model, but this is 130 watts or 140 watts was about what that took. But if I go back over here, I'm going to close this out and we'll run a little bit larger model. I have, let's see what models I have on here. We can do GPT, so the ChatGPT open source model, 20B parameter model, 20 billion parameters. This will take a little bit longer to load in. And let me switch back to the Pi camera.
It looped again with a message, and I hit OK, destroy the battery.
How about we turn off, oh, yeah, well, that's, I'm going to turn off the side camera for a couple minutes.
Cool.
Yeah, let it cool down. Hey, Dad, do you want to say hi?
Yeah.
Say hi to the stream.
Yeah.
Joseph
Hello,
can say
where
hi.
am I?
I'll be in the
This is my nephew over here, and
I'll be
godson,
in the background blowing that.
who he actually was the reason I ran this morning out where I ran. They had a 5K there, and they're like, hey, you can run with us. So that was nice.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
I did not run.
But yeah, you didn't run, but you could.
I could.
You maybe.
I could.
I don't know if you've done one.
Someone mentioned something about liquid-cooled camera. That would be a little
Well,
bit odd,
that's the
little-
thing. Everybody tells me I need to get an FX3 or FX30 or something. But yeah, this Dad, Gearling Engineering.
Yeah, early engineering. We
Subscribe over there.
Do a
Yeah.
little ad note.
a lot of fun opportunities for us with that channel right now. You know, there's just
Yeah.
a lot of things on the pile. I'm trying to get time to head to these places and see these people and bring some interesting stuff back. It's very fun.
Yep.
And I said stuff once just for Mom, so she could criticize me when I.
I've had like 5 or 6 years of this now, so I know some of my verbal tics and things. But it's funny when you hear yourself talking, you hear all these things that you say, and you're like, oh, I shouldn't say that. Like he says stuff. I say so a lot.
Yeah,
So
things,
blah blah blah.
Things and stuff.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, things, you know, things.
All right.
Yep. Okay, so it looks like this is almost loaded in. And close out of here. But you can see it's taking a bit longer. One thing is the CPU is not, like the CPU itself is not a bottleneck, but the PCI Express bus can be a bit more of a bottleneck in this case. And I do have nvtop installed to show some of this, but the problem is nvtop, the version in Debian was not working with this setup that I have going on right now for some reason. And I didn't have time to compile it beforehand, so sorry about that. And AMD GPU top works, but I, again, didn't have time to get that running because I have a story about that. But let's see, here's, remind me to tell you that story. Let's see, open WebUI, and we'll see if it's loaded. GPT. So let's ask it a good question. I think a pertinent question today is, can you run an AMD GPU on a Raspberry Pi? Now this is ChatGPT's like latest and greatest open model, gpt-oss. This is the 20B, it's the smaller one, but it should know a lot of stuff. So let's ask it that and see what it thinks. Context. It uses an ARM CPU and integrated GPU. AMD GPU requires drivers. AMD GPU uses x86. Obviously that can't work. Oh, no, unless you hack something crazy like using a GPU virtualization, which I'm not doing, this doesn't work. Okay, well, what if I'm chatting with you on such a setup right now? AI, I mean, people say AI knows everything. Uh-oh, I think I exploded its context, or it just got really angry. Let's delete this chat. All right, I don't think that it wants to go down that path. Let's do a new chat and say, who is Jeff Gearling? Because obviously they have to know something. Okay, Ansible tutorials, Ansible roles, Ansible for DevOps, Ansible for the absolute beginner. No, I've never done anything like that. I'm not a dev advocate, but I do advocate for developers. Well, I mean, it's really tooting my horn here, but let's see, Jeffrey R. Gearling, that's definitely not right. It does have my GitHub and my website right. And I never wrote a book called Ansible for the Absolute Beginner. And I wouldn't call myself a leading figure. There's a lot of people that know a lot more about me. But thank you for tooting my horn here. But Yeah, I don't know. Every time I test these models, they get better and better, but there's always these little itty bitty things that really show me like you can't trust the output. You have to, I mean, you can trust a little bit, but you got to verify because obviously I never wrote a companion Ansible for the Absolute Beginner series. And I don't run the learning site ansible.com/learn. I've never helped with that. I mean, I've helped with Ansible documentation, but not the learn site. So yeah, a lot of fun stuff. And I don't do anything on Slack anymore. I only open it like once a year when I remember that I was on some Slack channel. So yeah. Anyway, there's ChatGPT local open model.
I've got a portable cooler, Jeff. Got a portable cooler for your fan if you
Use
want
that
to
one.
use it. I mean, for your camera.
Let's, there we go. Now it'll keep the Sony camera cold.
There you go.
Good idea. How many AI tops? So tops is a funny thing. Does it mean tops at single precision, double precision, half precision, quarter precision? Tops is completely meaningless, kind of like megahertz was, I remember 20 or so years ago. Yeah, I'm sure that thing is, I think I have the silence filter on here, the background noise filter. And somebody asked about Trixie too. But tops, I don't like talking about tops because it doesn't mean a whole lot. You have to say like, it does this many tops with all of these settings and with this thing on the system because everything is different there. It's not like saying you got a certain amount of gigaflops measurable by double precision HPL or something like that. So anyway, little tangent. Somebody asked if this is Trixie. One tip is if you see this background, which I'm just pointing at the error to you, but if you see, oh, that camera's still dead. Let's turn that back on. So if you see this background with this little guy on the boat thing, this is Debian Bookworm or Raspberry Pi OS Bookworm, and that's the default background. We might get to Trixie today if we get some time. But anyway, so that's AI on there. Do I have anything else to show on here? One question some people ask is how hard is it to get Steam on here? I'm using PyApps, which is a really awesome community project that has tons of scripts and tons of compatibility shims and things to get everything working on a Raspberry Pi. It has tons of different installers so that anything that's not just a package install on the Pi you can get on here. And yeah, I might want to go here so you can actually see what I'm doing. But it has, under Games, down here, it has Steam. And all you do is you click Install and you're done. Now the reason why I'm not on Trixie yet is because PyApps, this is the main reason, PyApps is still working on compatibility with Trixie because they have a lot of scripts that kind of put things together the right way. So there needs to be some changes to get all that working on Trixie correctly. You could do it manually, but it takes a lot longer to do that. Anyway, that's PyApps, that's Trixie, and that's this card. Now, I'm going to show you a few things that happen like this. For the past few weeks, I've been working on all these cards and at various times fixing a few other things. Compared to like a Halo 8 or something, someone's asking about tops and precision and all that. This is going to blow a Halo 8 way out of the water. It's a full GPU, unless you have one very specific thing built just for that Halo. So anyway, I am using SSD over USB right now. I'm not using the SSD internally at all. I guess some people haven't come into probably came into the stream a little bit later. I don't know how many people are watching right now. I can't see on here. Oh, nice. Okay. I don't want to shake an app to debug, no. So I'll show you the setup again. So this is the Raspberry Pi 500 Plus. Inside of here I have an Oculink to M.2 adapter that's plugged into this funny cable that goes over to the dock. And I took out the SSD and put it into this. This is just a little M.2 docking station. It's USB 3. So that makes this a tiny bit slower, but it gives all the bandwidth to the GPU. And you can use GPUs through switches, but I'm not going to try that on here. It really kind of stunts the performance for transferring tons of data over there. Anyway, that's that. And I see you. You don't look like that probably, but that's what I see when I look up at you. Anyway, here, let's get back to the Pi, I think. No, actually, let's go back to side view because I'm going to swap this out. So I'm just going to shut down the Pi. And let's see, that's shutting down. I've noticed sometimes if I do a lot of stuff, something in the driver must just sit there waiting because it'll do this. It'll go to Plymouth Power Off service and sit there for like 10 or 20 minutes, and then it'll shut down. And I don't want to wait 10 or 20 minutes for that. You're in the ICU. I hope that you are getting medical attention. And I will say a quick prayer for you. Thanks. Will I be at open source? Oh, I sure hope so. Logitech K400, yes. This thing, if you ever see any streamer or, oh, I'm on this camera. If you see any streamer or YouTuber or anything, these things, I have 3 of these around the studio because they're just too handy. I hate the trackpad, but it works in a pinch. Anyway, the K400. I bought one of these like 10 years ago, and they still make them to this day, and I don't know why anybody makes like a really nice version of this with a really nice glass trackpad. If they did, I would buy it in a heartbeat. Anyway, yes, it's great for home lab because it fits in a 19-inch rack nicely. 0 days since recompiling Linux, yes. Oh, I'm on the wrong mouse here. Okay, so let's unplug this. I'm just using HDMI for ease of capturing. It's not because it's better. It's because my capture card is HDMI and doesn't do DisplayPort. But most of these cards require PCIe power, and that's why you have to have an external power supply, which this guy's kind of hot, I guess, from doing all that AI stuff. And you should probably turn it off before you unplug power. But do as I say and not as I do. Yeah, get out of there. There we go. And this card is one of the ones that I'm most nervous about just ripping the socket off because it's like 5 pounds or something. This card's getting more and more massive. Oh, is it saying battery thing?
No,
okay.
It's still on.
All right, good.
Feeling warm.
Yeah, it gets hotter. I was thinking about hacking a little fan on it. The Sony FX3 and FX30 and those nicer video cameras, they actually have fans because they're like, huh, if you're doing video, you might need a fan. Anyway, this thing is, I mean, look at this thing. I'm on the wrong camera here. Look at this thing. It's massive. It's ridiculous. This is compared to, like this was a workstation graphics card back in the day. Look at that. Just the size of it and the little fan on it. And by the way, this does work with this patch as well, these old cards. So if you wanted like to have an extra monitor or extra 2 or 3 or 4 monitors on your Pi, this is the way you could do that for cheap. These things are like $10 on eBay. I think that's a 7450 or something like that. I'm going to set this down so I don't drop it. Get this on. There you go. And then you had like this one. What is this one? It's a Sapphire RX 580 8 gig. So even a card like this wouldn't be the worst to pair up with a Pi because the Pi is not going to be as much of a bottleneck on it. Look, I even put a label there because I always forgot what this one was. But yeah, there's a lot of cards that are out there that you might even have one of these laying around if you're a PC enthusiast. And you could use it for small language models. You could use it for, one thing I like is Home Assistant has their Home Assistant voice system built up. And you could use one of these to get responses in like a second using a really good model. Less than a second, like 100 milliseconds or something. Let me put this back over here. But we're going to go to the newer AMD card, and I'll show you a problem I've been having. And hopefully I don't drop that card. This is the 9070 XT with how much RAM? I don't remember. Was it 16 gigs? Okay, that's not bad. So that's another reason we need competition. AMD is like, we'll release a mid-range card with 16 gigs of VRAM, and Nvidia is like, we'll release a mid-range card with like 8 gigs or 12 gigs. It's like, come on, seriously. Okay. Hello, Brian. And while I'm getting this all plugged back in, if you have not, if you weren't here for the beginning of the stream, this stream's fundraiser is for the UOAA, who helps people who have ostomies, because today is World Ostomy Day, and they helped me a ton. And it's a condition, it's a surgery that people have a lot of times without even thinking about ever having it because they're in an accident or they had cancer, colon cancer or something. So this organization is awesome for helping people with ostomies, and consider supporting them and helping people who were like me in my situation and had to decide like how to approach it. It's kind of a scary operation. But anyway, this is plugged in now. Let's turn it on. Okay. And let's boot the Pi up. And here, I'll show you what's going to happen here. There's no signal right now because it's booting up. Yeah, the B770, I would love to see Intel make a few more nice cards. And we'll get to there. I'm hoping around 3 o'clock we'll get to that. If you need to take a little break and you don't care about AMD anymore, you just want to see Intel. Yeah, I've switched over to ZSH for my Mac as well, once Apple moved. Vince, if you go back to the beginning of the stream, you can see it is playing Crysis Remastered. Some of these things you're seeing the first time because, like with Steam, it takes like 4 hours to download a game. So I downloaded some of those games yesterday, and all I did was I tried to pre-cache as much as I could. So Steam on a Pi 5 with Pi apps. If you try it on Trixie, it's not going to work right now, but it should soon. There's an issue in their GitHub. Thank you for those donations, by the way. I'm seeing some come in. And yeah, Vince, well, at least you're here now. But let's see. So we still have no signal out of this. And the problem is that this card needs a newer version of Mesa. Mesa is like the graphics library for Linux. And this card needs a newer version that is not available easily on Bookworm, on Debian 12. You can compile a newer version, and I got that working, but it kind of broke some other things. Or you can install from backports, but that also messes up some things. But I'll show you that. I'm going to shut down the Pi, which I can't do it from here, so let me pop over to the PC. We'll do it through SSH. So SSH in there. Is the Pi booted up? Why are you not here? What has happened? Okay, well, I'm just going to hard shut it down. And I'm going to switch over. You might have noticed if you looked closely while I was doing my work here. I'll switch back to the iPhone here. And we'll see if you can see what I see. That's still on PC. There's main. iPhone, there we go, okay. So I have some of these things you're seeing the first time. Other things I've been testing, like each one of these is a different build environment, whether it's 6.15 kernel with Bookworm, these two, or Trixie with the 6.17 kernel, a special custom Mesa compilation there with, I tried different versions of Mesa. So yeah, we're going to switch over to this one, which is a clone. I basically cloned this image, the one that we were just working on, and I put it onto this card using rpyclone, which you can find at rpyclone.jeffgeerling.com. It's rpy-clone. And we'll turn on this guy, and we're plugged in, right? Everything should be good. I see the fan spinning, so let's turn it on. Okay. Let's go back to main, or we'll go back to Pi. And let's see if we get a signal. Now, another thing is I had to change this whole setup for how the monitor gets its signal from there through the capture card. I had another capture card that was running, and it just stopped working this morning, of course, after I had tested everything else. And I don't know why I'm even looking at my phone right now. You can't see that. Here we go. Okay, so this works. So the reason this works is because well, it worked. There it is. Okay, we're back. So the reason this works is because I compiled a custom version of Mesa, and if I say GLX info, if I run this, no, I want to do -B, I think. So you can see I installed Mesa 25.0.7. This is from Bookworm backports, and I have a guide for that on my GitHub, which is linked in the description below. I had to do that to get this card working because this card was not supported at all in the version that still ships with Bookworm, with Debian 12. So the annoying thing is when you have like a newer graphics card with an older library on an OS that's more stable, that's the world of Linux. You can't just install the new driver and everything works. There's the driver, there's the Mesa library, there's maybe if you're using Steam and Proton, there's those things. So it can get a little complicated, and that's one area where Linux could improve a little bit, I think. But anyway, it does work on here. However, if I go into, let's say, I didn't actually try this. Does Doom, oh, Doom actually works here. So here's Doom on the 9070 XT, Doom 3, I should say. Load game, do we have it? Yeah, so that's working. Does the GPU adapter have power output? Yes, it does have a power output. So I could probably power the Pi from there with some sort of weird adapter, but I'm not doing that. Anyway. Oh, this is a later. I must have. Oh, here. There's that guy. Nope. Yeah, so anyway, there's Doom. So that does work, and I don't remember if that's using OpenGL maybe. Yes. Okay, get out of here. Let's see if anything else is working. Super TuxCart. I didn't show that on the other one, but Super TuxCart, of course, is extremely optimized under Linux. Although I don't know if this one works either. Let's check. If I go to Options, Graphics, let's turn up everything, go to full screen, 1920 by 1080, apply. Rockham. I have not tried Rockham yet. I've only tried Vulkan, because Vulkan is much more universally compatible with everything. And Rockham is super annoying, even on x86. So I have not tried Rockham. Let's see if this works, if it's accelerated or not. Oh, it does look. It's smooth. If you do this, if you try doing this on the Pi at high resolution, it's going to be very choppy. But let's see. Start. Oh, you know what? I didn't turn on FPS. Oh, it is on. Yeah. So 111 means it's more FPS than this game can ever supply. So, and I keep pointing at the screen, but it's not like you can see me pointing at the screen. I should probably look on here because there's less latency. Actually, there's probably about the same amount of latency. So anyway, there's that. If you're getting 111 FPS, that means your graphics situation is way better than Super TuxCart. I've never found a way to get past that. And Mango HUD, I had problems with that earlier, so I uninstalled it and I just never got around to putting it back on. But yes, Mango HUD is like the Linux way of putting those graphics stats on the side. Yes. Yeah, Rockham is getting a little bit better, but I think that's partially because AMD's finally like putting some momentum behind it. It was crazy that it didn't even support like a couple-year-old GPUs for a while. But what, I don't know if Steam is. Do I have Steam? And let's see if Steam works on here. Maybe this is all working now, and I just was. Last time I tried this card with Bookworm and Mesa 2507, I was having a lot of trouble. So I don't know if just rebooting it this time is helping. Do you guys need to leave? Oh, okay.
No, we were going to bring up a fan.
Oh. So I have a fan over there, like a little USB one, but that thing is not very... Well, when I'm not on the side one, we can just turn it off. This is also a new camera. My old Sony would not overheat, but I think this one has like the X Speed 7 or whatever the Sony processor is, the newest one, and it gets a lot hotter. I don't think Steam is going to run, so it looks like that's... Yeah, Steam seems to have killed itself. So yeah, that was one thing where if you run the later Mesa version on the older OS, there's little issues like that I don't know. I haven't debugged it too much, but that's something that you'll run into. But everything else, I mean, let's see if the AI stuff works. Llama. What is, I have the command in here. This just to see if it works. I don't need to run GPT-20B on this one because we already did that on the other one. But is this going to work? And I'll make sure Docker start. Okay. So it's loading that in. And we'll ask it, let's see, what should we ask? What should we ask the AI? It's only Llama 3B, so it's not that intelligent, but what should we ask it? Nope. Why is this not working? Here we go, it's loading. PPC64. I have a Power Mac G4 in there, which I'd love to think about installing some other Linux versions on that too. Okay, write a recipe for cinnamon cupcakes. Write a recipe for cinnamon cupcakes. There you go. I don't know if somebody wants to try that out. That's a lot of ingredients. not too much, I guess, but it's working. And we're getting on Llama 3B 70 tokens per second with prompt processing 262 tokens per second using WebUI on here. This is completely unoptimized, but it is running on that card. And let's check the power usage. That is one thing that's interesting to see. I'll turn this camera back on so we can see it. Where's my Home Assistant? Nope, I don't want to debug the app. Power usage. So if I go in here and do a new chat, and we can see, so idle is between 15 to 30 watts. And again, that's on my Third Reality Smart Zigbee outlet using Home Assistant, using an Apex chart in the UI, if someone is interested in that. But if I run another question like, how do I bake a chocolate cake? So doing that, we're getting, this takes a little time to update, 150 watts. So this GPU uses a little less power, but it's a little slower than the 7900 XT, and it has 4 gigs less VRAM. So that's how things are. But anyway, so that works. And I'll get out of here. Let's shut this guy down. And we'll see if it does this, the Plymouth power off service thing. Okay, that time it shut down. I don't know why some cards it just sits there, or it could be some software I run or something. But while I change this out again, if you have the means and you would like to support an organization that has helped me and helps a lot of other people go through a challenging part of their medical journey, if they have colon cancer, or if they had an injury in their abdomen, or if they have Crohn's disease or IBD, ostomies are a challenging thing to go through. And if you have the right support, though, it's a lot less challenging, I can tell you that. And this is World Ostomy Day today, so I have a fundraiser over in the side, which is somewhere between there and down there. Or if you're on a phone, just keep scrolling down. Anyway, so this is that was this 9070 XT. I'm just going to set it up here. I'm extremely ESD safe. I know everybody's very worried about that. And I have other cards too that I have tested with this patch. So I have an issue on GitHub testing the W7700 Pro 16 gigs, RX 6700 XT with 12 gigs. Even, I think these are some of the oldest cards that will go. These are some of the oldest, like I'd call them, oh, you can't, I'm not even showing, there we go. These are some of the oldest cards that would be practical, I think. Like I wouldn't go and buy one of these because it's not worth the power that it's not much power that you're using, but it's not really worth the effort. But if you have one of these laying around and you wanted to do something fun with it, it works with Vulkan, so you can get some acceleration. But the older the card, the more little issues you can run into with it. And yeah, jellyfin, transcoding, all that kind of stuff. Although AMD GPUs are not necessarily the best for that stuff. But let us get to Intel. Wow, I'm like perfectly timed for that. I said 3 o'clock and we're at 3 o'clock. So Intel, the only 2 cards I have are the ARC 750, A750, this guy, and the limited edition, whatever that means. And I have a Sparkle B580, and this was actually one of the viewers of this channel was very generous. This was when these were like impossible to get. He was like at Micro Center, found one, bought the thing, and gave it to me. So thank you so much for that. I've put a lot of hours into this card already. But we're going to try both of these, and you will see some of the issues that we have. Intel actually doesn't support ARM whatsoever. At least AMD acknowledges ARM exists, but Intel, at least in the GPU driver, still has a flag that says like x86 only or something. Yeah, we used to have to disable that, but now you can just work around it. I think the new Z2 version of the driver, the latest version, doesn't have that silly restriction. But we'll start with the A750 because it's the slightly older card, and sometimes older means better supported. Other times older means doesn't have the things that make it easier on a system like the Pi, which is more exotic. Not exotic in a fast way, but exotic in a strange way. But I always screw these in because I don't want these to rip out that socket. And I only have one of these docks. I should buy a second one since I use it so much. The A750 is also weird because it has one full plug. Let's do the side view here. It has one full plug, and then it has like a plug with just 6 instead of 8 pins. Oh, I forgot to I always switch off the power supply before you plug in cards. The fans are going now, which you can see here. Not well, but you can see it a little bit, I hope. The external PCIe dock is from JMT, I think. I don't think I linked to it in the description, but I linked to it in many other places. If you go to my blog, there's places that have the links for all these things. Also on the Pi PCIe website, that is definitely linked in the description. I have these kind of things linked. But that's on. It shouldn't have been, but now it is. Let's turn on the Pi, and we'll see what happens. I think I know what will happen on here. I was going to try this on my first clean version that didn't have the updated Mesa, but you can try it on this one and see what happens. Yes, someone mentions roll your own tech. Yeah. Oh, oh yeah, the camera, or the camera gets hot. This guy. I don't have my roving camera setup or anything, but this is the Minisforum DEG1. Yeah, that's what it is. It has all these switches on the bottom. It works with like half my GPUs, but not all of them. So that was weird and annoying. And it's very hard to know if it's a GPU thing, a driver thing, or whatever. And this just added one more variable. This dock works with all of them, never had an issue. If it doesn't work, I know it's not the dock's problem. This one works with like, I don't know, 6 out of 10 cards that I try with it. So if it's not that reliable, I can't rely on it for that. But if I find a setup that I want to have compact, the nice thing is with this, you screw the power supply right here, the graphics card right there, it's very compact and very nice. This one, you can see it's a little janky. But we are now to the point where you can see the problem here. Copy, what? That's, what? No. Intel, seriously? It's not copy protected. Let me go to the side cam. I'm just going to zoom in on this and show you what's actually happening. If this camera doesn't fail me. Can you see? I might have to go to the iPhone to show you what exactly is happening here. Let me, oh, you can see it. Well, some of you can see it. If you're not on like a, oh, and focus is bad on here. I'll just do the iPhone. The iPhone will be easier here. Go back to this view. Yes, you can see the blinking cursor, but I'm going to show it to you close up because for anybody that's like on a tiny phone or something, it's nice to help you out. Okay, so you can see there, blinking cursor. What that means is everything is working except for something in the driver stack or Mesa or something like that, or the window environment. And in this case, I know it's the window environment because this happens on a lot of cards. And what you can do is hit Alt F2, and that brings you to the command line. So I'll switch back over here. And I'll zoom in a little bit. So because of, for some reason, Intel is marking a flag in the HDMI signal that says it's copy protected, which is dumb. So because of that, my capture card is like, oh, I can't capture that. It's like, whatever. Oh, and this is totally blurring in and out. Hold on. Let me fix that. Meanwhile, I'm sure this camera is going to go. Okay. Yes, so if I say Pi and the most secure password in the world, which is Raspberry, that's what I use for the default for these systems that I'm not going to actually put into production. Let's see. So if I say labwc-pi, that is the compositor, the window manager. Ooh, is that? It's a little choppy. Sorry about that. And this one, these are all on 6.15.y, the RPi 6.15.y. I have 6.17. I'll show you that soon. But you can see that it says Iris driver missing. Well, you probably can't see that, but trust me, it says that. I'll go back to the iPhone here and show you. This is the message you get. And again, this is all on GitHub as well. If you want to read all the stuff that's happening, it says Iris driver missing. And it can't focus that well, but yeah. Anyway, so that's what it says. And what we can do on these Intel cards with this particular setup is we can say start X, and this is the X window system. This actually works fine. And it used to be that this would be super weird and there'd be artifacts and glitches, but after the patch from Yanghaku that fixes the cache coherency issues on the Pi, now this all actually works well. I can even get into a browser. I can go to youtube.com/Jeff Geerling. Again, it's a Raspberry Pi, so we're not talking like 7900 XT or 70, whatever this isn't like the fastest AMD driver CPU and all that stuff in the world. But that's the problem. Wayland is not working right now, as far as I can tell, on these Intel cards with this version of PiOS, with kernel 6.15, with Mesa 24 or 25. Oh, this would be trippy. I wonder if this works. Mesa 24 or 25. Ooh, I don't want to start like an echo storm in there, but hey, it did work. Anyway, so this stuff works, but it's in X windows, which means that some things don't work. I think Super TuxKart won't use the GPU, and it could be a driver issue too, because see, we're full screen again. Let me turn down the music a bit. So full screen, everything's set up. And if I go back and do single player, you can see this is using the CPU, I think this is using CPU graphics, so it's even slower than the built-in iGPU. It's painfully slow. So you'll see. This is a quick way to tell if your driver is working or not. If you try playing a game and it does this, there's Clippy. So yeah, notice that this is not as smooth as it was earlier playing on the GPU. So, and even getting out of here is going to take a little time. FPS, it can't even calculate because it's so slow. Okay, quit. Yeah, so that's the problem. That this is where we're at with kernel 6.15 on Raspberry Pi OS 12 or Debian Bookworm. And so what I've been doing, so I'm going to shut this down. Oh, and also the B580 requires a newer version of Mesa as well, which there's the B580. It's kind of a cool design. I don't know if you like blue. That's one of the bluest cards I've seen. But let's see, that's shut down. This time I'm actually going to, let's turn off manual focus. Okay. I'm actually going to turn this off this time so that I don't accidentally blow up the video card. You know, Pi-hole doesn't actually block the ads on YouTube. At least not all of them. You still need plugins for that. I hope that statement didn't just demonetize this whole stream. Am I going to the city match? I believe it's in Austin. Is that where they're playing, Dad?
Yes.
City? Yeah, so I think they're in Austin. I am not going to, unfortunately, be flying down there today. That would be fun, though. I've never seen a city game in another city. Ow, that hurt. Okay. That guy gets hot. The older card. Yeah, I remember some of the things we're saying. These are not the most efficient GPUs. And the fans also, the way the fan stack was set up and all that was not incredible. So I noticed on this one, there's a pass-through here for air to flow through. I think they call that a flow-through design, something like that. Okay. I'm not going to say the words of what 300ZX Turbo said, because if I do, I'm sure that would trigger demonetization for the stream. But yeah, I have no hard feelings to anybody who wants to remove advertising from their lives. I also noticed this card only has one 8-pin plug, which means it doesn't draw quite as much power, that's for sure. And it's we can always verify that with Home Assistant later. But let me do this, and I'm also going to switch out. Let me get back to the iPhone here. iPhone, stream, connect. There we go, okay. I'm also going to switch out the boot drive, so my highly complicated system of boot drives here. So we're going to switch up to 6.17.y, and this is a custom compiled version of Mesa, I think 2507, that I even explicitly put Iris into the build So it should work, you know, this should be the way that it is. But I found that there's either a bug or something funny missing somewhere because it won't quite work. So I'm going to turn this on. And why is the white balance is all over the place here? Go back to 4,000, silly thing. There we go. Nope. Yeah. No, go away. Okay. And then boot it up. See, now the colors are nice. Now that's a white and a desk maple. I don't know what color that is. And we'll switch back to side view for the camera that might overheat again. And I guess it's a good time every 15 minutes or so to say that this stream's purpose today is not only to test all these cards and show you where things are at, but also to, we got the blinking cursor, to raise money for the UOAA. So if you look over here, or somewhere along here, if you're on desktop or tablet, or if you go down on phone, you can donate to the UOAA, who has helped people like me deal with their ostomy, help them have a good support system, and the best thing for me is like the local communities that help. Sometimes people visit you in the hospital, that kind of thing. Do you know what the donations are at? $519?
1,006 people watching.
Oh, well, hello to the 1,006 of you. And you don't, if you're watching the stream after the fact, you can still donate. I'm going to leave it up. But anyway, we got that blinking cursor again. So again, I'll go. On this one, it doesn't do the content restriction. Of course, now my main camera's dead. Hold on a second. Oh boy.
Freeze the room.
Yeah.
Spray.
Yeah. Well, you could just do.
Dying down or spray.
I almost grabbed the Hacksmith blowtorch. Yeah. Now it's going to blow up from being too cold.
That'll just shrink, and then it'll twist the metal up.
Yeah. Okay. Now we're on there. Oh, I'm getting the temperature warning on this one. I'm going to turn off the side camera. Oh no, my color balance is way off. Oh, okay. So maybe people are right. I need to buy the more expensive Sony cameras, apparently. I live stream once a year at this point, so these are all growing pains. No, thank you to Katie and Michael T. Rose and Anonymous. Thank you for your donations. Yeah, the color. I don't know what's going on. Maybe I burned out one of the sensors in there. But the nice thing is now you can see that there's a blinking cursor. And it's still Intel, so I don't know what's up with that. Maybe it is an older kernel thing or who knows what. But if I say Alt F2, now I can log in as Pi with Raspberry. Still using that highly secure password. And if I say labwc Pi, it says Iris driver missing. Nope, the camera, okay, turn that one off for a little bit. We'll let it cool off. And just leave it. And then I'll, you can't see me, I'm sorry. No. Well, but I'd have to set that up. And I'm not that much of a streamer that I can sit there on the fly and do that. But I can do, let me just I'll grab the secondary camera. Sorry, you're seeing black right now, but that's because I'm recalibrating. Copy. Screen sharing. Paste. And, oh, I have that camera turned off too. Okay, well, I'll just remove that. Yes. Okay. Well, I set this thing up for this kind of, it's not an emergency, but if all my cameras died, this is my last hope. So I can set this up like this. Yeah. Yeah, the phone is going to overheat. Okay, I got the phone here. Let's get it set up. And turn that off. Okay, white balance we're going to set to 4,000 so it stops messing things up.
Yeah, and plus the donations are going really well.
Oh yeah, everybody donate. Donate more money to the UOAA. It won't help this live stream, but it will help a lot of people. Okay, now I need to go in here and go into iPhone NDI, copy. Oh man, the colors on here are not wonderful either. Paste. Ooh, I'm huge. Make me smaller. Okay, whoa, I'm tiny. Okay, now I'm, now you can see me.
Yeah.
Whoop,
Yep,
yeah,
I can see
oh man,
you.
yeah, stop. Okay, there we go.
Yes,
It's good. Okay, we'll just do this for now. So that, I mean, you don't really have to see me, it doesn't matter. But here we go. So the B580 doesn't work there. Is there like a way, there's not Wayfire or something. But let's see, if I do start X, of course that's going to work, just like it did on the A750. But now this is the difference. You might notice that the background here is a bit different, and that is because this is Debian Trixie, Raspberry Pi OS Trixie. If you haven't seen it yet, I'll give you a quick rundown on a couple things I like. The new control center is extremely nice compared to what they used to have. Now it's like a lot of other setting systems where it's just a bunch of things on the left and the settings are on the right. Although one thing that confused me is you have display, and I'm like, okay, how do I change the resolution? I don't know, I don't get it. And then, if you go way down here, there's screens, and that's where the resolution, frequency, orientation, and layout, and all that stuff is. So there's still growing pains. I would like to see those unified. But the new setup does have nicer icons, a more unified scheme. This setup over here has been reorganized a little bit to make it a little nicer. But again, we can run a web browser, we can do that kind of stuff, but I don't even know if I put anything on here. Yeah, I don't have llama or anything, but if I say preferences, I'll make this bigger so some of you could actually see it. And make that a little bit bigger too. Whoop. Fast fetch. Screen fetch. Do I have that on here? Is it fast fetch now? Every year it changes. It was neo fetch, then screen fetch. Now I think it's fast fetch. That you can see what's on here. Fast fetch. So you can see that we are on the Linux kernel 6.17. This is actually 4K. I forgot to change the string here. You can change this string and make a custom kernel name, and I just left the default, which is 16K. But this is actually a 4K page-sized kernel. But we're on the B580, and everything works in X Windows, but it doesn't mean that everything works everywhere. So, what is it? What's the game that I was just playing? Super Tux Kart. I don't think I have it on here, but we'll see if that works. I don't think it will. I think there's something funny with the driver on here. And another thing, if you're going to do this yourself and debug things, you can see there's a little bit, you can't see it that well, but there's a little artifacting on the edges of these windows. But I don't know if that's necessarily the driver or something on the X Windows itself. But if I go into dmesg, this log has almost all the information you need to know. And there is something going on here with the card. There's P code, mailbox failed, power limits. So there's a power limit issue. All the firmware is loading in. But the other thing that I've noticed on these Intel cards is they want to have a resizable bar. Bar is something that I explained like years ago, and I still don't understand everything about it, but it's basically a way for the addresses of memory on the video card to line up the addresses in the RAM in the system, and if they're kind of not right and they don't map correctly, then you have problems. But we have been working on trying to get resizable bar to work correctly on the Pi for Intel. It works. You can actually resize the bar, and it should be fine. There's no BIOS or anything on the Pi. It just works out of the box. But there's some issue, and we don't know if it's in the Intel driver or there might be some memory alignment things that we need to fix in the Pi's own setup. But yeah, that is one issue. That could be causing this. That could be a cause for it. But anytime I see red in here, I always am like, oh, something's going on. But you can see that it's working. It's all going through the card here. But let's see if we can, whoops, did I close everything? Oops. Let's go back and see if it installed that SuperTux card. We'll see. I don't think it's going to use the GPU for acceleration on here. It already doesn't feel quite as snappy. Let me turn this down. Nope. So the first time I'm launching it, I got to set the stuff back up. Turn everything all the way up. 1920, 1080, full screen, apply. Yeah, I can see there's just that tiny bit of sloppiness, a little bit of choppiness, and display FPS, general back, single player. Yeah, this is, I'm not even going to start the game. You can tell that that's running on the CPU and not on the GPU. And another thing about this is when you're working on these Intel ones, in the past, I don't know if this is still the case necessarily, but in the past there were issues if you used the iGPU on the Pi at the same time. So if I say sudo nano boot firmware config, down in here I actually disabled the iGPU right here, the DT overlay VC4 KMS v3D. If you disable that, it turns off the iGPU. I don't think that that's actually as much of a problem anymore. I think it was a problem with the older patches that we were using. I also noticed they don't have the little toggle in here to turn PCI Express to Gen 3, which is like DT param, what is it? This is how I do most of my stuff. This is the reason why I have a blog. I say Jeff Geerling PCI Express Gen 3 Pi 5. And then I click on the top link, and then I grab the code. My blog is literally my sketch pad. So if I copy, whoops. Copy, paste, get out of here, exit. And you can check also if you say sudo lspci-vvv, you can check what speed the card is at. So lspci lists all the PCI devices on here. And I run this quite often to see what's going on. But here's the Intel Battlemage G21B580. And it says link status, oh wow, 2.5 gigatransfer. That's like PCIe Gen 1. I wonder if there's an issue there. Either with negotiation or what. It says capability speed 2.5. That's weird. It should be giving me at least 5 gigatransfers. That's PCIe Gen 2. So let's try rebooting. And see, I don't think that's going to cause any issues here. So Al Bundy probably knows more about BAR and how all that works than I do. Yes, my blog is I put all my stuff on my blog because I just use Google or DuckDuckGo to find it. It is by one, yeah, it's a by one. It's by one, but it should be 5 gigatransfers since it's Gen 2, and then it should be 8 if it's Gen 3. So we're rebooting. Hello from Russia. I'm glad you can use my open source work. Same issue with B50. I am not Groot, but sometimes I'm Root. So the Intel drivers supposedly use more CPU as well, but the problem is I haven't gotten to a point where I'm getting bottlenecked. I haven't been able to run some of those crazy games like Ultimate Battle Simulator and all that. Favorite Linux distro? I don't really have a favorite. I use Debian and Ubuntu mostly, but I've used Fedora a lot. I used to use CentOS for servers, but now I mostly do Ubuntu. What's going on here? Oh, we're at the blinking cursor. I'm like, well, it's all black, but there's a blinking cursor. F2, Pi, Raspberry, and let's see, I'll log in so you can see the bigger font. Start X. You can hear that clacky, the Gatoron blues, which are colored gray on here, but they're Gatoron blues. What? Now I'm not getting anything. Well, that's not fun. Apparently if you set it to Gen... I didn't set it to Gen 3 though. Oh, it might be, you know what? I think I enabled the internal GPU, which is now telling it. So that this is an issue, I guess, still on 6.17 on Trixie. If you have the iGPU enabled, it will still do this. So let me go back. Let me go back over to the PC here, and you can see what I'm seeing. I'm going to log into the Pi. Oh, you know what? I got to set this up over here really quick because I don't have my SSH key set on here. You could move that camera if you want to see me. Actually, it's not. Do iPhone NDI. iPhone. You can move that, and then now watch, my camera will magically follow me over here. Hello, I'm now here. I hope that that's live. Is that actually working?
We're gonna see.
Oh, there it goes. Yep. Okay. So I'm going to get on this guy. No, that's good. And I'm going to set up my SSH key on here because I have a separate SSH key on the streaming PC because I don't want to use my main key on that PC since I only boot it up like a couple times a year. So I need to do nano.sh authorized keys, and oh my gosh. Yeah, there's a bug in Imager. It literally like copies a bazillion copies of your SSH key. There's 3,000 lines of it in here. So hopefully that bug is fixed. It probably is in the latest version. I haven't updated in a while. But I'm going to paste in the key from the Stream PC so I can log in over there. Stream PC, paste, save, exit. Okay, now I'll come back over here. There's Dad is here for the day, and Joseph. Yeah, you can turn it back on. Now I have all the cameras are funny. So now if I log in, go back to the PC, log in, there we go. Now I'm logged in. And then I can say sudo nano boot firmware config. This is another thing, if you're going to be experimenting with these things, you want to have SSH access to the computer. So make sure networking is good, otherwise you have issues. So I'm going to turn the internal GPU back off. And we'll check, this should be, if I say sudo lspci-vvv, this should be Gen 2, which is 5 gigatransfers. Where's the Intel? Here we go. Link status 2.5, that's weird. So that's another weird thing, I don't know. Maybe it's trying to retime itself. What happens, let me sudo reboot so we can get back on there. And we'll get back to, is that camera on yet?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there it is. Hi everyone, I'm back. The Mac Mini, streaming with OBS is not as fun on a Mac, unfortunately. I do some stuff on the Mac with OBS, but it's more fun. I wouldn't say it's fun, but it's more utilitarian on Windows at this point. I don't know, streamers like games and games run on Windows. It's crazy people. One goal is to run one of these streams from the Ampere Thelo Astra, the big giant ARM workstation. I haven't gotten to that point, but I think I will be able to soon. Oh, you know what? Yeah, okay, so Disty is correct. The newer cards, including Nvidia cards, AMD doesn't seem to always do this, but I think their newer ones do. They actually do report slower speeds in lspci. If they aren't rating themselves up, it's an energy saving thing. They won't use the full speed, so it probably is at Gen 2. So anyway, that's besides the point. We're back at the blinking cursor. So if I go here and say, oh no, I want to wait. There we go. Okay. Alt F2, Pi, Raspberry. Okay, and then start X. Now this should work. There we go. Now we're back in here. So nvtop sudo apt install nvtop. I don't know if nvtop will work on Trixie either. At least not with this. Oh, okay, never mind. We got it. This is working. So yeah, PCIe Gen 3 at 1x. So this is correct. Wait, Gen 3, but I don't have that configured. That's what's weird. That's really weird. Because we don't have it in here, right? Oh, I did put it in here. Okay, never mind. We're getting at 1.5 hours in the stream. My brain stops working a little bit. Okay, so yeah, that's working. Yeah, the air conditioner's on. It's giving us a little fresh air. Actually, that is interesting. Let's check on. Oh, my phone is over here doing the camera. Let's grab you back. Phone is now getting hot. It's going to overheat. Okay, Home Assistant. Let's go to Side Cam, which is turned off. Let's turn you back on. Let's see. So we got power. The Intel cards actually, this card uses not much power at all when it's idling, only a few watts. The Pi is using 6 watts or 5 watts, and that's using like 8 watts. So if you want a good idle power card, that's a decent one, I guess. If we go to overview, let me make sure there's nothing. Okay, I don't have anything weird on there, like private, I don't have any like key codes or anything. But the CO2 levels, you can see during the stream, whoop, there we go. The CO2 levels have gone quite a bit up because right now there's 3 people in here. There's there's why is this not working? There we go. See, there's 2 over there and 1 right here. So 3 people breathing gets that CO2 level up a bit.
I'll stop.
Okay, Dad's gonna stop breathing. You don't actually have to do that. Yep. Yeah. So that is working, and the thing is, like, why is it not? I don't think that even the web browser is using the acceleration. I think that it's only optimized for the internal GPU, but it is. It's saying, let's see, type graphic. Let's see if we do YouTube. If we do this, deny. You go in here. I mute that. Huh. It's actually pretty real time. That's interesting. So it's all CPU. It's not doing any GPU acceleration. See that? It's trying, but it's not using any GPU. And oh, okay, there we go. So yeah, that's the Intel status. Let me go back to the main camera, and I'm going to shut this down. We'll swap back over to an AMD card to close things out. Shut down. Yeah, the B580. It's weird like that. This is the issue with Intel. You can tell that they're trying, and I like that they're trying, but their drivers, even on x86, have had growing pains. They're doing a lot better today than they were with the first round of generations. But if you want to follow that progress, Phoronix is one of the sites that I follow pretty closely for that stuff. Now, there's also videos from a lot of other content creators, but Phoronix has a lot of great benchmarks showing the little improvements here and there. Sometimes there's regressions in the drivers. But yeah, the CM5 kit, yeah, I always have that dev kit sitting over there because I'm always popping things on and off it for testing. And I've noticed that as I visited more engineers who do hardware stuff, I mean, I always knew how my dad was in radio. You know, they have a workbench with stuff sitting all over it. This is like extremely clean and tidy. Like normally, like if I'm guessing if you go to one of these AMD or Intel engineers or something, you'd probably see a desk that's more like this. More like this, with probably like a box here and a box here, and probably a soda sitting on top of it. Like this is like engineering work. That's how you know if somebody's actually doing the hard work or if they just want to make it look like that. It's funny, whenever you go to Apple's, like those Apple events that they have, and they have like the ultimate pristine desk, and there's a motherboard sitting perfectly straight with like a screwdriver right next to it. It's like, who's actually going to do work there? It's obviously just for show. But yeah, those are the Intel cards, and just for fun. Nice. And while I'm doing this again, if you are considering possibly donating to the UOAA, they are an awesome organization that helps people with ostomies. Ostomies are not something that, like, if you don't have one, which I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, there's probably 1 or 2 ostomates watching this stream. But if you ever thought, man, what would it be like to having an ostomy? You probably don't want to think about that too much. So people that have them or people that get them in an emergency situation, they need support. Otherwise, it can be a very daunting and complicated thing. And some people, sadly, never get that support, and they end up hating it because they had an ostomy nurse who just wasn't like, or they didn't get an ostomy nurse ever to help them. So the UOAA is a great resource to help people and also advocate for people with ostomies, because our politicians don't often consider the fact that an ostomy is not like a prosthetic that's the same as like a leg prosthetic, but it's categorized the same way in Medicare, I think, a lot of times. And so it's not like you just get your thing and you're done or whatever. And that there's also different types of skin and different types of people and bodies and different types of ostomies. So you can't just say like, this is the one company that makes all of the supplies for all ostomates. UOA helps make that point to our government, which doesn't always listen to that. So consider supporting them. They're up here, down there, somewhere, or on a phone. I think it's down below. But let's see, I'm going to try this 480, which you can get these for pretty cheap. A lot of people just have this generation of cards, like a 460, 480, 550, 580, one of those kind of cards sitting around. And these also, I think this one is going to work. Let me switch back. This one, this is the boot up, this is the NVMe that's set up mostly for the Intel testing. I do have a Trixie set up for AMD. So we'll try that really quick. And we'll see if that works. Go back to the RPi. And of course I didn't turn on the power supply, so hold on for a second. And what is, oh gosh, I need to get rid of this now. How do I get rid of this one? Remove. I could just hide it, but I'm just going to remove it. I can put it back if I need to, but this camera seems to be doing okay now. Yes. It's back to well, it's working right now, and we'll be finished soon. I just want to see if one of these older cards works. Speaking of which, let me go back to the PC. We'll log into the Pi, which is not booting up. Let's try shutting you back down. I'm going to force shut it down. Okay. And this time I'm going to turn on the graphics card. Power. And let's see if we see it this time. I wonder if I messed up this NVMe. Oh, there we go. It's booting. Another thing that you can look at if you're going to replicate a setup like this is the fans. They do something different when they're initializing correctly versus when they just turn on and don't initialize. Usually they just run at 100% if they're having big issues, or they just run steady, but you can hear it go like, woo, woo. Like that's like the driver kicking in. Although there are a couple cards that the fans don't spin at all if they're cool enough. And I wish that, like for debugging purposes, it's nice to have something happen when you initialize something. So when driver engineers always do something, blink an LED or make the fan spin different, something like that. And well, I don't think we're getting any output out of this one. Maybe I didn't have it working on Trixie. Let me shut this one down. Actually, before I do that, let me go into here and see if I can log in. PC. Nope. Okay, so maybe I might have nuked that install because I was doing some weird stuff on a couple of these. Compiling like everything from hand, and sometimes you have to do that to get the latest and greatest of everything. So I'm just going to shut this down, and we're going to go back to the Bookworm install and see if that works, because I probably screwed this install up. Power. And back to here. Pi. Yes, Christian makes a good point that I forgot to mention that I was going to mention earlier. When you're using a graphics card with a Pi, and this is the case with most ARM systems, not all of them, but most of them, you can't get the initial boot screen. So whether it's like the EDK2 BIOS screen on some systems, or it's the Raspberry Pi has their little bootloader thing that will show you what it's booting from, those won't work through the graphics card because the graphics driver has to initialize on ARM before that works. So this is the, what is this? The RX 460 4 gig. So if you have one of these lying around, it's not useless. I think that Llama works with this too. So if I go Llama, I have the command up here. No, we wouldn't be able to do the 20 billion parameter, but can I do Llama on here? Let's see. In Llama's output, you can see at the top here, it should say if it sees the card. Yeah, I found one Vulkan device with 4 gigs of VRAM. So if we go down here, it's loading into the graphics card. So we're using graphics card accelerated processing for the prompt. Let me go to Docker start. What is the container? I guess just hit tab, open WebUI. Okay, that's going to launch. and we are accelerated. It's not going to be as fast for sure as one of these. Well, I just put them all away. Ugh. You're not going to get as much speed on this little guy from like 10 years ago as this guy from a couple years ago, that's for sure. But it could work. So let me go to open WebUI. And we'll see if this works. And if this does work, I think that'll be a good way to wrap this thing up. Let's see. What's a good one paragraph way to wrap up a video about graphics cards on a Pi? It's working. In conclusion, the choice of graphics card for a Raspberry Pi setup depends on your specific needs and budgets. If you're looking for a basic experience, using the built-in GPU should suffice. But if you're going to do gaming, video editing, 3D modeling, a dedicated graphics card like a Raspberry Pi 3B Plus, yeah, I don't think that'd be an upgrade. Alternatively, you can consider using a USB-based graphics card like the RPi USB graphics card. I don't think that that's going to help either. But I think that you could use one of these AMD jobs. And let's see how the stats are for that compared to the other card. So 27 tokens per second. But if I, just for a comparison, let me close this out. And I'm going to run this without offloading layers to the GPU. So take off NGL. So this is loading it all on the CPU. No, it's still loading it on the GPU. I don't know. I think the default. So let me do -ngl. We'll do one layer on the GPU. So now it loaded it. Where was that? Did it load it in there? So see this, now it's mostly on the CPU. There's one layer on the GPU. That's just a quick way to ignore that. Now let's refresh this, open WebUI, new chat, and say, what's a good way to say goodbye on a live stream? So you can see it's a little bit slower, just a little bit. And by a little bit, I mean I'm not going to wait for this whole thing to finish. But this is the difference. If you have a card laying around and you want to play around with these small models, there's worse ways to do it for sure. You don't have to go out and buy a new $700+ graphics card. Power consumption, I will show you that. So I'll do that in Home Assistant really quick. Let's go back to my power monitoring. And right now the CPU with a tiny bit of offload on the GPU is using 50 watts. But if I stop this, I don't know how to tell it to basically stop, but I'll just close that. Go back to NGL 99, load all the layers. It doesn't have to be 99, it just has to be however many layers are in your model. But it's loading up on there, and we'll say, how should I include a live stream quickly? So here, it's doing it on the GPU now, and we can see the power consumption is 108 watts. So there's more efficient ways too. But again, like if your goal is to learn how GPU compute works and how AI models use it, or LLMs, and you don't want to break the bank doing it, you can either buy one of these cards cheap online, or, I mean, honestly, I know a few people that have this generation of cards just sitting around in a closet somewhere. You can probably get one pretty cheap, or just go on Facebook Marketplace and buy an old PC with one of these things and get it working. AMD cards. Nvidia, stay tuned for that. I probably won't do a live stream. I'll do a full video if I get one of those working. But Yang Haku has shown it working. It's just the code is kind of messy there, and we'll get to the point where we can show it working elsewhere as well. But that one was 27 tokens per second with prompt processing at 60 tokens per second, so not bad at all. And for a small language model, that's okay. Anyway, that is the current status of AMD graphics cards, which are basically running great with like, that part of the patch is only about 18 lines or 20 lines or something. And then there's like 8 lines for the Intel cards to make them sort of work, but not quite yet. We're still getting there. But anyway, I guess until next time, I'm Jeff Geerling. And I'm on the wrong mouse. Until next time, I'm Jeff